Hi, it's Yllara, Vedic astrologer, with a special clip about the energy of the winter solstice, the Christmas full moon, my forecast for 2024, followed by 5 minutes of guided meditation at the end that closes the journey that we take from the winter solstice to the Christmas full moon and into the new year. You don't have to listen to it all at once. You can do it at your own pace, and you will find the timestamps in the description box below the video. Let us start with the winter solstice, that here in the northern hemisphere marks the shortest day and the longest night of the year. It is good to know that solstices are the result of the Earth's axis being tilted whilst orbiting the Sun. Throughout the year, either the southern or northern hemisphere of our planet is tilted towards the Sun and receives the maximum intensity of sunlight. During the December solstice, it is the southern hemisphere that gets the full light of the Sun, and the northern hemisphere the least. At the December solstice, the movement of the Sun's path south reaches its most southerly point right over the Tropic of Capricorn that runs through Chile, southern Brazil, South Africa, and Australia. And on this most southerly point that the Sun reaches this year in the early morning hours of Friday, December 22nd at 4:50 a.m. here in Central Europe, the Sun stands still for 3 days before reversing its direction. It is during the holy night between Christmas Eve and Christmas Day that the light returns, and all cultures have always celebrated this returning life-giving light that is also the light of consciousness, of awareness, of the one field in which creation exists, the field that is shared by and connects everyone. With the year ending and going through this still point during the 3 days before Christmas, we are invited to take time and space for deeper introspection and reflect on our relationship with the light we are made of, and on our relationship with that shared field, with the larger world that is experiencing massive conflict and upheaval, and we are all connected to these events. And all this turmoil happens and intensifies because we are only 5 degrees away from leaving the age of Pisces and entering the age of Aquarius. Earth remains in each age of the zodiac about 2150 years. And the last and the first 300 years of every age, these are the first and last 5 degrees of every sign, are always a time of transition. That is a volatile time of unpredictable, uncomfortable, inconvenient, and challenging change. Interestingly, the winter solstice falls this year on the 11th day of the waxing moon, known in Vedic culture as Mokshada Ekadashi, the liberation-giving 11th lunar day. 11 is an important master number for the evolution of soul and associated with transformation, heightened intuition, sensitivity, and spiritual insights. In Hindu tradition, people used to fast on Ekadashi Tithi, on the 11th day of the waxing and on the 11th day of the waning moon, because the energy of the 11th day is that of sattvic fire. Mental activity is low, and when we fast and meditate on that day, it is easier to experience a glimpse of the divine. Ekadashi Tithi and the Winter Solstice of 2023 facilitate the burning of the inner fire of tapas, purification, and for the necessary inner strength for processing all that global suffering and the personal challenges we all go through. What seems challenging or confusing, scary perhaps, or too overwhelming can be held in our luminous and loving awareness. That broader intelligence that goes beyond separation has the power to digest all the conflicting material that bothers us. The Sun, conjunct, retrograde, and combust Mercury on the day of the solstice intensifies the invitation to retreat into stillness and feeling reborn, renewed on Christmas Day. The days around the winter solstice have always been a time of natural retreat, of bringing quiet nourishment to our spirit and whole system. Pitta dosha is naturally pacified during the winter season, whilst Vata manifests due to the cold and windy qualities of winter. The cold and wet weather also aggravates Kapha dosha and may cause later in spring a Kapha imbalance. Warm oil massage and hot compresses are an easy way to increase the blood flow and the heat in the body, as well as warm and nourishing food like soups, hot pots, and stews. We are called to sleep more and pay attention to our dreams, because the silence gives room for our inner voice to speak more clearly. Let us take time and space to listen to our inner wisdom, to rest and reflect, to digest and rediscover ourselves, to soften our hearts that maybe are tired from living a too fast life of high expectations and demands. Our hearts perhaps don't want more pushing and pulling, but long to receive and give in equality, feeling connected from the sacred space within, that is the calling of the age of Aquarius. For that fullness to uncoil, the silence of the winter solstice is a gift, a medicine to shed skin, set our hearts free, and let us unfold from within. In this time that is a bridge between a world that is crumbling and a world yet to be. The Christmas full moon comes 4 days after the winter solstice, in the night between Tuesday, December 26th and Wednesday, December 27th. It falls at 10 degrees of sidereal Gemini, and its ruler, Mercury, conjoins the Sun in the opposite sign of Sagittarius. Mercury has become in between the Sun and the Earth on its orbit and is therefore both retrograde and combust. A retrograde planet always turns inward and somehow fails to accomplish its normal tasks fully. We all know that there are usually communication problems, technical glitches and travel delays when Mercury is retrograde. But now, at the same time, and due to its closeness to the Sun, Mercury is also combust and renewing itself in the Sun's fire. It means that we need to be mindful with our assumptions and decisions, because things couldn't be what they look like. It is not a time to act, but a time for some quiet reflection and maybe change in direction. We can look at the major and minor setbacks that we perhaps experience and see them as cosmic timing at play, a cosmic redirection, instead of getting wound up in trying harder. The moon falls in the sky in the constellation of Ardra, known in the West as the brilliant star of Betelgeuse in the belt of Orion. That is a constellation related to the Egyptian god Osiris and his story about life, death and resurrection. Very appropriate in this time of the year. The Vedic deity who dwells in Ardra is Rudra, a fierce form of Shiva and known as the howling god of destructive storms and thunder. He is one of the 11 Rudras. Here we come back to the number 11 that we already touched in relation to the winter solstice. The theme of the lunar mansion of Ardra, where the Christmas full moon takes place, is transformation through cleansing. It is not so much a cleansing of the physical body through detox, but more a cleansing of negative or erroneous thoughts and a cleansing of the emotional body. The inner storms and the perhaps profound shaking that we may experience with planets in Ardra and with this full moon have the purpose to burn as much karma as possible, cleansing as many attachments and identifications as possible. The days around Christmas will stir many emotions within us and cause some powerful inner churning. And this presents an opportunity for spiritual growth and transformation. But our limited beliefs and attachments to a certain comfort zone will be challenged. Ardra means in Sanskrit the moist one and refers to the rains of transformation. to the dampness or freshness of a new day, as well as to the tears that we most certainly cry in this lunar mansion because of its painful energy of doubt and confusion, of feeling different and alone. Not without a reason, this particular full moon of the year is also known as Bhairavi Jayanti, the day of Bhairavi, goddess of fearlessness, who challenges us to move beyond our limitations. Saturn in trine with the full moon and being itself in square to Mars will definitely trigger our comfort zone and bring up situations in which we need to stand strong in our own truth. We surely become resilient and powerful if we dare to ride the dragon-like energy of this Christmas full moon. Rahu, the lunar north node, is the ruling planet of Ardra, and he gifts this lunar mansion and this Christmas full moon with heightened sensitivity and intuition, with a kind of sixth sense, with instinctual knowledge and extrasensory perception that help us to make decisions that feel right to our innermost self. Rahu squares the full moon from sidereal Pisces, that is a sign ruled by Jupiter and co-ruled by Ketu, the lunar south node, who is placed opposite to Rahu in Virgo. A major part of the transit of this nodal axis in Pisces and Virgo deals in the last months of 2023 and the first months of 2024 with the smoke and delusion that Rahu creates in Pisces and Ketu reveals and dissolves from Virgo regarding spirituality that has become a kind of new religion for an increasing number of people and a big business, and we need to be careful. Rahu and Ketu, and especially Jupiter, are the big players of the year 2024, and I will speak more about them being prominent in a few minutes. But with reference to the Christmas full moon, let me say that there are currently, without doubt, many paths and a lot of offerings in the marketplace of spirituality. Many people are longing for answers, for healing, for a life full of meaning and beauty, and others awaken out of the blue with perhaps physical symptoms or strange gifts that they don't know how to handle. There is a lot of seeking and a great need for help and guidance. Most of us will play for a certain time with the different tools that the marketplace of spirituality offers so diversely. Channeling, crystal bowls, angel cards, gemstones, mantras, retreats and yoga of all kinds in this time of transit into a new age. But we must watch out that these tools don't become crutches and turn into new attachments, and be alert not to get hooked up in an endless loop of investing all our energy and money in one retreat or course after another, only because we so desperately desire to feel better, different, or special for the time being. Many bubbles are created nowadays where we feel good temporarily in the company of like-minded people, but still miserable at the end of the day when we are alone or with our family. It is also easy to take on more and nicer identifications instead of shedding all the labels that seem to define us. It is interesting perhaps to know our soul number, our soul planet, what we are in human design and so on. But on the spiritual path, it is good for nothing to attach ourselves to such new and perhaps more delightful identifications. Bubbles give us the illusion of safeness and specialness, but most of the time people keep chasing after their ideal self, the most or more enlightened version of themselves, instead of finding the way back to who they really are in their innermost being. And there is also the danger to separate ourselves from the rest of the world that is somehow seen as the other side, the enemy, or inferior, or less intelligent, or less evolved, or the world as it is sometimes is completely rejected. But our evolutionary path into the age of Aquarius, as well as the year 2024, deal with embracing, sharing, and enjoying life and the manifest world. It is about welcoming this human experience. It is about embodied spirituality and what it takes to live and blossom as fully as possible. We go into the new year with the moon in the constellation of Maga, that is the royal star of Regulus in sidereal Leo. We have a great fire trine formed by the moon in Leo, Jupiter in Aries, and the Sun conjunct Mars in Sagittarius. All positions are, as always, sidereal. This grand fire trine holds, as well as the frequency of the 5th lunar day on which we enter 2024, a lot of creative energy that hungers to manifest from within. After the more introverted winter solstice and the challenging Christmas full moon, the energy on New Year's Eve is bright and light. It helps also that Jupiter comes out of its retrogression in the morning of the last day of the year, and Mercury does the same on the first day of the new year. We will sense a feeling of movement, of excitement for the new, but there is still an energy of daydreaming that nevertheless wants to translate swiftly, perhaps too swiftly, into action. And we must watch out to give it a clear direction from within. 2024 adds up to the number 8, that in Vedic astrology belongs to Rahu, the lunar north node, who becomes the ruler of the new year. Rahu is the head without a body of a dragon or snake. And that condition, together with the energy of the moon in Maga at the entrance of the new year, creates certain danger of being too ungrounded, disconnected somehow from the physical reality we find ourselves in. Maga is the dwelling place and astral plane of our divine ancestors who watch over us. And with Ketu, the lunar south node in Virgo, a sign that is the memory bank of humanity's evolution, we might feel a strong longing for a better place to live, for a golden world that we remember somehow. And at the same time, we don't feel comfortable in the world here on Earth. Until Jupiter's ingress into sidereal Taurus on May 1st, 2024, we will have to deal with that kind of ungroundedness and perhaps discontentment. The great players that have a say in the turning of the years and ages are first and foremost Saturn, the nodes, and Jupiter, that is the slower moving planets. Saturn will not change sign in 2024, but remain in sidereal Aquarius, where he is strong in its own home and shows us its somehow frustrating immutability, the unchanging laws which are implicit in incarnation. The long cycles of Saturn define periods of inevitable endings and beginnings. It is all about the moment in time when an end point has been reached and a change in direction must take place. That change is born in the moment of recognition that the end has come, whether that be the end of a lifestyle, a relationship, or an era. We experience that constantly, but when in April 2025, not 2024, Saturn and Rahu will meet in the first degrees of sidereal Pisces, the world most certainly will see some very impactful endings and beginnings. The scenery, the setting is already in preparation and will increase, will get tougher and sharper in the course of 2024. Regarding the lunar nodes, they will also remain during 2024 in the same Pisces-Virgo axis we already talked about, and that they entered at the end of October 2023. Until July 8th, 2024, Rahu, the planet who governs the year, will slowly transit through the beautiful lunar mansion of Revati, where Venus gets exalted and whose presiding deity is Pushan, the Vedic god who guards travelers and dreamers, watches over poetic or romantic encounters, and over wedding ceremonies. Revati is a very creative, imaginative, and spiritual lunar mansion that contains our longing for true connection, true love, and true fulfillment. This means that in the coming months we may be blessed by grace with out of the ordinary experiences and encounters. It is a wonderful time for traveling and pilgrimages, for samadhi experiences, romantic encounters, for artistic endeavors, and celebrating beauty in everyday life. We are called to discover our own beauty, our own inner light, the beauty of our inner being. And we may find it increasingly difficult to live in a world where imagination and intuition, kindness, love, beauty, peace, and compassion do not have enough place or space. We could easily question our career or life path and travel perhaps into faraway countries to find answers and be true to ourselves. The highlight of Rahu's transit through Revati that will finally ground our creative imagination and spiritual experiences comes in May and June 2024, because Jupiter, the only slower moving planet that changes sign in 2024, leaves sidereal Aries and enters sidereal Taurus on May 1st. Jupiter is the lord of Pisces. He rules Rahu in Pisces. And Jupiter forms an earth trine with Ketu, the lunar south node in Virgo. That is a powerful position for Jupiter and for an embodied spiritual approach to life and its beauty for all of us. Jupiter in Taurus appreciates fine taste, the five senses and their perception, appreciates arts and craftsmanship, beautiful design, and wants to build sustainable wealth. And besides perhaps the tendency to overindulgence, we might also see a movement towards deglobalization. More and more people may think that things do not need to be produced at always lower prices and in more quantity, with the resulting damages of the environment, human rights abuse, and massive job losses. But this movement against globalization can also go to the other extreme of rising nationalism, protectionism, and tension between nations. Later in 2024, I will give more detailed information about Jupiter's transit through the different lunar mansions of Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashira, and about Rahu's transit through Purva Bhadrapada after leaving Revati. But for summing up this forecast about the new year, I would like to concentrate on the 2 solar and 2 lunar eclipses of 2024, mainly on the most important one, that is the total solar eclipse of April 8th that will cross North America. It is the biggest one in the last more or less 20 years, a very powerful and interesting eclipse that falls in sidereal Pisces in the lunar mansion of Revati. It belongs to a series of eclipses that deal with visions, vivid dreams, insights, intuitive flashes, instinctual knowledge that all lead to new and original ideas. But the inspiration and inventiveness and the movement that comes with the eclipse needs and promotes freedom and independence, and this will cause strain in our life and on our relationships. Interestingly, only 2 weeks after the eclipse, Jupiter conjoins Uranus, the planet of freedom, invention, evolution, and change. we can certainly expect some kind of alteration or metamorphosis in the next spring season. The deconstruction of the age of Pisces goes on in 2024. Things fall apart, and we need to allow the necessary reassembling in the outer as well as in our inner world. It is all about finding the way back to our true self, while at the same time new ways of living unfold. It is a year for dreaming bravely and simultaneously shooting our arrow of truth in a clear direction, not necessarily aiming at a certain goal, but instilling clarity in our mind about the energy and its qualities in which we wish to live, to immerse ourselves in, and relate from with others and the world. Let us close our eyes for a few minutes, releasing worries and fears with every out-breath, and feel into the energy of the winter solstice. Isn't it crazy that the Western world has turned this natural time of slowing down into a whirlwind of festivities and preparation? Aren't we tired of feeling the pressure to be constantly doing, running and planning? The natural world goes quiet and still all around us. Let us slow down and turn inwards and feel that this is a time for deep rest, a time to release what we have outgrown, a time to restore. Let us embrace the nourishing darkness and rejoice in its deep healing medicine. After the longest night, out of the depths of the unknown, light is reborn, and we step into it renewed. With gratefulness for the gift of light, we see in our mind's eye now the 12 months of the new year as a circle all around us. From the winter solstice below our feet, the light flows up through the months of January and February to the spring equinox in March to our horizontally outstretched left hand. And it keeps flowing up through April and May to the summer solstice in June, right above our head, only to flow down again through the months of July and August to the autumn equinox in September to our outstretched right hand. And it keeps flowing down through the months of October and November back to the next winter solstice below our feet. The light flows effortlessly, without any obstruction, through the whole wheel of the new year. Our hands open in a gesture of receiving, and we feel the light entering us, flowing through us, filling us up with divine grace and wisdom. and we feel safe in its sacred embrace and guidance. I wish you all a restoring winter solstice, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year.